because Rome started with Andi in this like highly technical mechanic side of things that you don't see very often, we really were able to kind of lean on that to provide opportunities to empower women to also get their hands dirty.
I'm constantly getting emails from women who are like, how did you become a mechanic? I'm thinking about taking this course. Do you think that's a good idea? It's really cool that women are wanting to reach out to find out more.
Having the opportunity for women to ask questions and like physically touch their bikes, we find to be incredibly empowering.
Joining us in the studio today is our first duo. They are the co-founders of the world's largest femme-specific mountain bike festival. Together, they are elevating the concept of inclusion in our sport and are obsessed with all things bike-related. Please welcome Ash and Andi Zolton.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
For the record, I'm Ash.
Andi.
Okay. And this is on video and audio. So for everyone watching on video, Ash is on the right, Andi's on the left. For everyone on audio, still Ash is on the right, and Andi's on the left.
I love it.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We will get the voices after a while. And this is our first duo. I'm super excited about that. We've only had individuals in the past few months, but super excited to have the both of you on the show.
Yeah. We're good. We do firsts a lot, so it's very appropriate.
Where are you both calling in from today?
We're in Grand Junction, Colorado, on the western slope.
Yeah, kind of middle of nowhere, United States.
And this is relatively
we're middle of everywhere, United States. Let's be real.
Is this relatively a new home for you?
I guess relatively, yeah. We bought a house in 2020, and before that, we rented a house here and spent as much time here as possible.
We lived out of the back of a truck. We lived out of a school bus, and we overstayed our welcome at friends' houses here in Grand Junction for quite a long time before all the stars aligned, and we were able to settle permanently, which we hope it's a forever home for us. We love it here.
Awesome. Well, you're both familiar with the format of the show, right? We have 5 sections. We start with this foundational, then we go to the speed round, then we talk about your career, and then we jump to making change that counts, right?
I love it. It's a lot to cover, but I like
Let's start with some of the foundational stuff and, the simple stuff. Where were both of you guys born?
Yeah.
I'll start.
You're more interesting than me.
Am
so,
I?
Yeah.
I was born in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Ooh.
My dad was a elephant keeper at the Honolulu Zoo. And then they moved to Seattle when I was 1. And that's where I grew up.
Let's stick with Andi for a moment, and I'll just maybe blast through some of these questions.
Cool.
That is cool. I think you're our first Hawaiian baby. That's super cool. What did your parents do when you were growing up?
Well, my dad continued to work in zoos. He worked at the Seattle Zoo, Woodland Park, after they moved to Seattle.
Yep.
And then my mom was a medical transcriptionist for most of, my whole life, I think.
Andi can
All right,
pronounce. She can pronounce any medical term, or she can pronounce it all. It's amazing.
Do you know the genus and species of like those names of everything, right?
Yes.
Oh God.
Yes.
No.
She says
only that one
At least
caterpillar we studied in biology.
All right, Ash, same question to you. Where were you born and what did your parents do growing up?
Yeah, I was born in Chico, California, Chico State. And my parents are really interesting. My dad worked in construction. He was very blue collar worker. And then my mom was an accountant, which is quite funny because I was in like remedial math my whole education. So the apple fell very far from that tree.
She's actually quite good with numbers. She's selling herself short.
It just took time, right?
Yeah. And starting 4 businesses.
Yeah. Okay, back to Andi. We're going to switch back and forth. So Andi, tell me, as a kid, what were you into either sports or outdoor wise, or were you a bookworm?
Well, I always loved reading, but I was definitely like the tomboy on the block. Played basketball, soccer, softball, all the way through college. Always had a bicycle, but never like raced it or even knew that that was a thing that people did, or like, yeah, all the multitude of things you can do on a bicycle until, I was in my 20s, or well, just before that, but yeah.
Right. When you were young or sort of in your teens, did you have an aspirational career path?
Yeah, I wanted to go to medical school. That was my original plan. But
Okay.
as a 17-year-old, I knew I wanted to learn how to fix my bicycle. And
You've been
that is
doing,
actually the path that ended up happening.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you end up working in a bike shop at that early age?
Yeah. The first summer after I graduated high school, I started working in a shop.
What shop?
Greg's Cycles up in down in Seattle, Washington. They had 3 locations, so I was actually at Greg's Aurora Cycle. Their flagship is Greg's Green Lake.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Ash, same question to you. So growing up, what were you into?
I was a sports nerd. So I played all the sports. I captained all the sports. I was like a 6-sport athlete, which was, I just never really wanted to be at home because we lived actually in Forest Ranch, which if anybody has been up there, there's nothing to do as a teenager. So I try to keep myself busy at school. And then I was like the sports nerd. So I was also in the computer club and did speech and debate and went to a pretty cool high school that had a technology focus. So got to get pretty involved in like film, radio, television. So sound engineering, film production. We'd go down to Hollywood once a year and work on TV shows and movies and things. And it was pretty cool. I really liked, we both
Sweet.
really liked high school.
And what about you? What was your career path?
Yeah, I initially we joked that like I was going to win an Academy Award one day. That was like the joke in my family. I'm not entirely convinced that that won't eventually happen. I still have like dreams of having a dual career in the bike industry and going back into film. But yeah, I was definitely, I thought I was going to be the next Steven Spielberg growing up, and yeah.
Interesting. If you went that route, so Spielberg, producer, director, writer, you'd be behind the scenes or in front of the scenes?
Definitely behind the scenes. Yeah. And I the more that I really compare event management and event production with film production, they're really not that different.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think I kind of in a roundabout way did end up in that realm for sure.
Have you guys seen The Fabelmans yet?
No.
No, I know of it. I think.
It just came
Oh,
out, yeah? Well, not
oh,
just, but
you must.
yeah.
You must. It's an Academy Award nominee. It's basically the story of Steven Spielberg's childhood.
My parents saw it. Yeah,
Your
I heard
parents
they
see
loved
all
it.
the
I heard it was
movies.
great. Yeah.
It's pretty great.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta watch it.
We're gonna put it
Yeah,
on
you
my
can stream it. You can stream it somewhere.
Okay.
The Fabelmans.
done. We're adding it to the
Yeah,
list.
so good. Okay, well that's the foundational stuff. Other than actually, let's talk about siblings. Andi, siblings?
Yeah, I have a younger sister, 2.5 years younger, Amy. And I love her, and she is.
What does Amy do?
She works at the Seattle Aquarium. She's done kind of everything. She's been there for a while. What does she do now? She manages.
She's in HR.
She's in HR slash manages
being a boss.
cashiers slash being a boss ass bitch slash hiring people. Yeah.
They look
Okay,
nothing
and Ash?
alike. I want to, it's like the funniest thing in the world to me. If you put Andi and her sister in the same room, you would pick everybody else in the room to be related to Andi before you picked her sister.
Pretty much.
Really?
I just get such a kick out of it.
Yeah, that's funny.
As
opposed to you and your sister,
who look a lot. You can definitely tell that we're siblings. I call my family like the Great American Shit Show. I've got steps and halves and fulls. There are, I think, 6 of us all fit together. But I grew up with my older brother and my younger sister, and then my half sister would often come live with us, in the summer and on holidays and things like that. So, and I am a quintessential middle child. So I'm like the middle of the middle.
Cool. Where are they in the world?
Mostly in California. still. Yeah. And I think most of
Okay.
them are all in Northern California for the most part.
All right, let's jump to the speed round. I know you guys have reviewed the questions in advance. Let's
I'm
do
gonna
this. This is a fun little psych profile to just get to know you better. Ready? And I'm going to be really interested to see how we do this. Are you both going to answer at the same time or differently? Let's just get into it. All right. Pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
Waffles.
Oh, this is going to be interesting. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Tacos or burrito?
Tacos.
Burritos.
Oh, spicy or mild?
Mildly spicy.
Yeah, I'd agree. Mildly spicy.
Cold or hot?
Hot. Always. You are always fine out in the cold.
Cold, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Rain or snow?
Hot.
You can say neither.
Neither, please.
Rain, I think.
All right. The mountains or the beach?
Mountains.
Definitely mountains.
Cities or suburbs?
Cities. For
Yeah.
living.
Yeah, cities. I love cities.
Yeah.
I think they're so fascinating.
Yeah.
Cars or trucks?
We're lesbians.
I also love my little car.
But I don't know what that means.
Oh, okay. Lesbians love trucks. I mean, it's kind
If
of a
we're
blanket
generalizing.
statement, yeah.
Well, but if we're generalizing,
here.
I mean, if we're generalizing, then like,
You
don't you love Subarus too?
Yeah.
One would think, yeah.
we do have a truck. It is very useful. I don't know that we would be able to survive without a truck, but we also have a vehicle that we call Little Car. Great gas mileage. It actually fits almost the same amount of stuff in it as the truck does. We love Little Car.
And we also have a school bus, and really that should have been our answer.
It's true.
Yeah.
Buses, yeah.
Buses.
Well, that's pretty rad that you have one of each.
Right? It's maybe a little over the top, but we'll just we run an event company.
What about do you have a 16 passenger van?
We would love.
We contract those.
Yeah,
we contract fleets of those for every event. So
yeah, that's what you really need.
They're very handy.
All right, let's get on with this psych profile. Pavement or dirt?
Dirt.
Gloves or gloveless?
Gloves. Oh my gosh. For those of you who did not see, we just did the same exact thing.
They are definitely hanging out together. Clipped in or flat pedals?
Flats.
Clips.
Low pressure or high pressure in your tires?
We discussed this. The best,
perfect
pressure should be the pressure.
Whatever the perfect pressure is.
Maybe kind of high. Just, it's really rocky here.
It's true.
Yeah. Fix it yourself or take it to Andi?
I take it to Andi. She fixes it herself.
And lastly, dogs or cats?
Dogs.
All right.
We have a dog. Yeah, she's awesome.
So let's switch. Actually, what's your dog's name?
Ryder.
With a Y.
Yeah, and I don't recommend naming your trail dog Ryder. It gets a little confusing sometimes. But
Ryder back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch over to your careers. So you didn't just sort of leave school and decide to start a little event company, right? You had to sort of evolve, right? So let's start with Andi. Andi, you leave school and you do what?
I leave school. I go back to the bike shop that I'd been working at through college. I start racing all the kinds of bikes, and I fall in love with everything bicycle related, even more so. And after some time in a dental office and continuing to race bikes, I find Ash, who's rolling around this idea called Rome in her head, and really decide that that's kind of the direction I want to go.
So in that time when you met Ash, were you dating at that time, or was this just friendly hanging out?
It's friendly hanging out.
It kind of all happened at
Well, we briefly met each other because she was working for the same company that I was racing for. Um, so we briefly met a couple times, and then like what, a year
A
and
year
some
later,
later.
yeah, we call him our matchmaker, invited Andy over for Thanksgiving dessert. And I would say like that was kind of
Yeah, that was
the
kind
shift.
of.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Then to Ash. So
Yes.
leave school. What'd you do?
Yeah. So I have kind of always been in and adjacent and around the event and tourism world. So I left college. I moved abroad. I worked in Japan, New Zealand, Southeast Asia as a tour guide, and then continued to do that back in the States, working for several adventure travel companies. Been really, really grateful and blessed to be able to work all over the world leading adventure travel vacations, which was great. Which is actually kind of how things started with Rome, that we were doing all-inclusive bike trips. But yeah, I was working as a tour guide for a road cycling company. And on a weekend off in between trips, I was down in LA visiting one of my little sisters and stumbled upon a women's mountain bike group. I was pretty new to mountain biking, was having margaritas after the ride as you do, and one of the women in the group was like, "Hey, I just interviewed for this job. I don't think I would be a good fit, but I think you would be." And I really was not interested in leaving my really awesome tour guide job, but the pitch was basically like, you're going to get paid to go around the country riding mountain bikes and like teaching women about cycling. And I was like, oh, mountain bikes, like that sounds rad. So the transition into the cycling industry, and then Rome kind of followed suit.
Okay, so let's now talk about Rome. So Rome started out, Ash, as an idea of yours, or where did the genesis of that
Yeah.
come from?
Yeah, the origin story was really an accident. I was working for a bike company doing clinics and workshops, if you will, and demo. I was all demo based, and I kind of, with my background in adventure travel and tourism, I was like, man, I think there's a better way to do demo than an hour in a parking lot. I think like having
Yeah.
folks come for the weekend, getting to know them, being able to have the time to make adjustments on the bike, switch bikes around because we were lucky enough to have a fleet. Um, I think that's going to be a recipe for success in terms of like the end result of folks purchasing bikes, because that was my job, was to like get people to purchase bikes. Um, and I planned my first event. I rented out the Whitefish Bike Retreat. I sold tickets. They sold out. And then my boss called and said, "Hey, we have a problem. We're not an event company. We're a bike company." And so me like getting like creative and thinking on my feet, I was like, well, what if I create an event company and then you hire me as like a contractor?
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. We created Rome, and our first event was contracted, and we kind of never looked back.
But now, so you create Rome Events as the sort of parent company, right? And then Rome Fest is the event, right?
Yeah, which SRAM actually had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
If we want to
Yeah.
talk like the origin story of the festival. So I had done demo. Anybody in the bike industry probably knows the drill of going around to all the various events. At the time in 2015, 2016, those events were pretty homogeneous. Like it was typically me and a handful of other women, and then a bunch of guys. Really awesome fun to hang out with and have bike parties with guys. But definitely recognize that there was kind of like really something missing, which was a women specific festival. And at the time, women's clinics were taking off, and a lot of women specific events were happening. And Sarah Jarrell, gave me a call and said, "Hey, like, what do you think about doing a SRAM women's weekend, but really big, like lots of people, rather than these kind of smaller, 15 to 30 people events?" And that was really the impetus for starting Rome Fest, was this idea of having a women's weekend and going really big with it. And so, like, thanks to Sarah, Rome Fest happened.
And so was the first Rome Fest or the big Rome Fest 2016?
Our first festival was in the fall of 2017 at our flagship location in Sedona, which we are
Okay.
still hosting events at that same venue, same flagship location. It's been a wild ride for 7 years.
If you were to pull out from underneath your mattress or in the file cabinet the one-page business plan about Rome events or Rome Fest, what would it have said? What would the mission or vision have been?
Yeah. Yeah, it has shifted not semi-recently, but it has evolved from the beginning, but I would say in the beginning, it was this idea of creating community and connecting women with bike brands. So, I recognize as a female in the bike industry that there was just a lot of unknowns, there was a lot of, and kind of it was a little bit intimidating, and my experience was incredibly positive. Like, I just had overwhelmingly positive experiences with these brands, and so my mission with Rome Fest and the company in general was to kind of, like, create those connections and create that community and kinda peel back the curtain, if you will, between the bike industry and the women who are out riding. And I think we've done a really good job with that, and that's kind of what is pretty unique about the festival is we ask a lot of our brand partners that come. You know, we ask them to bring a female presence if they can, and we kind of ask them to have these, like, really long days with a lot of activations all day long. We ask them to stick around in the evenings and participate in our all festival activities, and it's all kind of with this core purpose of, like, we want to provide opportunities for women to connect with the people behind the bikes and the equipment that they're riding.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, SRAM was one of those progressive brands back in the day, I'd say in the, you know, ear- early 2010s, right? When we first started with Rebecca Rusch, your officiator,
Yes, for
which
wedding officiants. Yeah.
we'll talk about that later. Uh, we sat down with Rebecca many years ago and founded the SRAM Gold Rush Tour, right? Which was
Which I
dedicated
went
to,
to right before I started Rome. It was awesome.
oh, amazing. Amazing. And now you see it's pretty cool to see what's happening in this category, right? Of really inclusion and focus on the femme community and all. It's just incredible what's happening. We just recently had Lindsay Richter on the show talking about Ladies All Ride, and
Also a huge,
it's pretty cool.
huge inspiration. Lindsay, Rebecca, Lee Donovan. I mean, there was a definite group of folks who were just getting after it that was so inspirational and honestly, like, they were a huge part of us starting Rome. I've lost count of how many times through the years that I've given a call to all of those ladies, and just said, hey, like, you know, this is happening, what do I do, what do you think, and just having this collaborative instead of competition mindset has
Yeah.
just it's been that way from the very beginning, and I really attribute the success of Rome to things like the Gold Rush Tour and Ladies All Ride and the Dirt Series and all of these other events that were happening. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Let's shift over to Andy for a second because I know one of Andy's strengths is on the technical side or the mechanical side, right? I mean, if there is a master level, certification for the tech, you are it, right? And people look to you, not only your partner, but just athletes and yeah, everyone looks to you for advice and help, right? Technically, so much so, I think you even were recruited by Rebecca to help on the tech side in some of her travels, right?
Yeah.
How important, yeah, how important is the tech piece to Rome events and the community?
I think number one, it's kind of cool to see a woman being successful, however successful I am, in that realm and seeing that it's possible, because I'm not the only female out there that likes to get my hands dirty and fix tiny things. So, yeah, it's just in that way, I think that's important. And I'm constantly getting emails from women who are like, how did you become a mechanic? I'm thinking about taking this course. Do you think that's a good idea? It's really cool that women are wanting to reach out to find out more. about how they can pursue maybe the same path that I did, and how, what my story was, and if that will work for them. And so, yeah.
And I would add that because Rome started with Andi in this like highly technical mechanic side of things that you don't see very often, we really were able to kind of lean on that and lean on partners like Sarah, to provide opportunities to empower women to also get their hands dirty. And that's definitely been something that has always been a top priority for us at our events, is like having that. We've always done like a SRAM tech clinic, and we have workshops at the festival, and having the opportunity for women to ask questions and like physically touch their bikes, we find to be incredibly empowering. It's a pretty awesome side of things.
So talk to me about Rome events today. So it started out as an event, and now it's many events and many people, not only attendees, but you have like staff, right?
It's so wild.
So what does it look like?
Yeah, so we've kind of done, I guess the best description would be like an accordion. So we started out with Rome retreats. Very quickly, the festival followed. Post-pandemic, we did the Rome Rally demo tour in collaboration with Specialized. We got, I think at our biggest, we were running 24 events in a year. And we took a really good hard look at the bandwidth that required and the commitment that required, and who doing those 24 events served, and realized that, sometimes less is more, and that by consolidating down to just doing the festivals, we could impact a larger group of people and really take all of these amazingly talented folks that we work with in these partnerships and really elevate them in this like concentrated event series that is the 3 festivals. So we went from a team of 2 through, I think at the beginning of last year was the first time we had and we use full-time loosely. Full-time to us is just somebody that works year round on events with us. So we went from last year being a team of 2. I think we are up to 7 of us that are working year round. We have an extended core team of probably 12 of us that are in leadership positions to help put the events on. And then when we launched the Rome Collective, that opened up the door to elevating more women, and particularly women of color, into leadership positions, which is something that we're incredibly excited to be able to do with this new endeavor. I mean, obviously our team, we're trying to diversify and keep our team as a reflection of the population that we're trying to serve as well. But I think with the Rome Collective and the mission behind that, it just kind of lends itself to getting women of color and marginalized writers into these leadership positions, which is something we're really proud of.
Yeah. So let's tell the audience a little bit more about the Rome Collective and what that's all about. I think we understand what Rome Events is all about, but what the heck is Rome Collective?
Yeah, it's brand new. So essentially the kind of origin story and how the Rome Collective came along is we recognized that as Rome Events, we were kind of first to market in a large sense of creating a event and a community around the broader sense of marginalized writers that we'll just call like femme women writers. So it's a pretty broad community. Through that event, we kind of realized that we had developed a community and a process and a space that was really welcoming of like, if we were to kind of zoom the lens into different communities. So Black writers, Latina writers, Indigenous writers. And we've kind of found that we found the special sauce to make those folks feel included and welcomed and heard. Those efforts led to doing things like our BIPOC scholarship, which we've just rebranded to, or the Rome Collective has rebranded to the BIPOC Fellowship, to be more inclusive of not denoting that there's folks that we want involved in these events that don't necessarily need to have a socioeconomic status attached to them to do that.
Right.
So the idea of creating these, what we have been calling inclusion programs. So bringing para and adaptive riders to our events, inviting fat cyclists to come have a voice and have a space to come and feel welcomed at our events. And through those programs, it has been a tremendous investment, and one that just as a business was not sustainable for us to continue to invest in these programs in the way that we saw they could be elevated. And so the kind of no-brainer on our team was like, well, why don't we give this thing its own wings so that we can diversify where we're able to fund and source support for these programs, so that they're not just going to be able to happen at Rome Fest, but that they'll be able to amplify and elevate and spread their wings to other events. So the hope is, by creating a nonprofit, which is called the Rome Collective, we create a footprint and a blueprint for inclusion programming to happen in the outdoor industry at all events, not just Rome Fest. And that wasn't something we could do as a business. We don't have the bandwidth or the ability to scale that way. But a nonprofit with the support of donors, partnerships, and grants, the hope is that they'll be able to amplify into other spaces.
Amazing. Yeah. Congrats, both of you guys.
Thank you.
And what is each of your roles in the collective?
Well,
we're trying not to have.
Yeah, we're trying not to have a role. I personally don't have much of a role other than just my historical knowledge of Rome as a company. And, maybe I give my 2 cents here and there, but yeah. But
it's been a really interesting experience for me as the founder of Rome Events, recognizing that like there is a time to let go, and that by letting go, the organization is going to be better off. I think also just creating a delineation of what is Rome Events and what is the Rome Collective. It was really important within our separate teams, because there's a team that is the Rome Collective team. Zoe Richards is our executive director. Rachel Olzer is coming on board as our director of inclusion programs. We've got, obviously the nonprofit board that's going to be making decisions. And I think that was a really cool experience for me to have this thing that was kind of my idea baby, which is just creating like a really safe, inclusive, awesome way to play bikes with people, and kind of, pass it along to a team of people who are so talented and have resources and time and bandwidth that I just simply don't have available to me. And it was a really hard thing to pass off, but already just in the first couple of weeks, seeing those folks step up and just seeing how successful this nonprofit launch has been really exciting, and just feels really good to know that it's in good hands.
That's cool. We'll make sure we put the links to the Rome Collective on the show notes and all that, so people can find it. Let's take a little step back, and in the infancy of Rome Fest and Rome Events, I'm curious, what were some of the obstacles or challenges in the way from sort of, besides COVID, what were some major obstacles that each of you encountered in growing this amazing event?
Yeah. I have some ideas. Do you want to start?
No, you start.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think buy-in was in the very beginning really challenging. To my knowledge, when we started Rome Fest, and this is still to my knowledge, we were the first women's only mountain bike festival in the world. It was an unproven concept. Incredibly grateful for the partners who came on board right off the bat. And I don't think we would have been able to be successful without not just their financial support and their presence at the event, but just the conversations that we had with folks in the industry saying like, yes, this is needed. We believe in this. Like, we want to help you spread the word about this event and get the buy-in. But it was really challenging. I mean, I think our very first festival, we might have even just given away tickets. If we didn't just give away tickets, and I'm not saying a lot of them, but like and to give you perspective, when we sell tickets now, when I open the tickets for Sedona, I open ticket sales and I hit refresh and we are sold out. That is how fast we sell out now. So that challenge of getting the buy-in of yes, there is a demand for an event and a space like this, but we also do things pretty differently. When you come to the festival, I mean, our first number one rule is hugs, not handshakes. That got a little bit weird during the pandemic, but it very much feels like a summer camp. And I think that really, I think my experience as a summer camp counselor and as a tour guide, it was really important to me. I mean, I experienced so many amazing world-class riding destinations and places to explore with this sense of camaraderie and community as part of that experience. And that's something that we really lean in on. And it's really hard to balance we put on a really fun bike party with the woot woo of like, we want you to have a really meaningful experience when you come party with us. And so it took a number of years to get buy-in with that. And that was really challenging initially to get that buy-in. And now that we have it, it's awesome. It's 3 days of just two fun on two wheels.
Just so you all know,
Andi,
his inner person is a camp counselor.
Oh yeah.
Which is...
It comes through.
Yeah.
It comes through loud and clear.
Good.
Andi, what about you? What were some of the challenges on your side, growing the event, side by side with your partner in crime?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was kind of easy. I don't know, having never done it before. It was, it got more and more challenging as time went on. Just as our load got bigger. And we started doing more different things. But we're somehow always able to separate work struggles from our relationship.
We were really
I don't know how. We just kind of naturally did it. I don't know. But kind of because of that, I have kind of started to step away just a little bit, so that we have a little bit more time where we're not just always working together.
And I'll add to that, Andi basically left her professional cycling career when she came on board at Rome. And she won't say that was hard, but it was a big deal. It was a big deal to me for her to do that. And I think recently we kind of collectively recognized that was something that being really intimately in the race scene was something that Andi is still very passionate about and still has a lot to contribute to that side of the industry.
Not as a racer.
Not as a racer, but what are you doing now?
Well, maybe we're jumping ahead of your schedule, David, but
you can jump.
Okay.
Jump. Please jump.
So actually I kind of started my first non-Rome thing was back 2021. Sarah Jarrell suggested to Kelly Emmett that she asked me if I would be available to be a mechanic for their Juliana SRAM at the time, XC race team. And so I said, yeah, that sounds great. So I went and wrenched for them at an event. And then from there, I ran into an old friend who I used to race with, who's the director of the athlete development pathway for USA Cycling. And he was like, oh, you do things like this? And I was like, yes. And he said, we need a wrench for our cyclocross program and a coach for our mountain bike program. And I said, those sound good. Let me ask Ash.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm doing a few more things now. And it does feel good.
That is amazing.
To have my own thing and still be heavily involved in Rome, because I could never not be. And I think it would be impossible to pull away in any way.
Oh, yeah. Andi, you, regardless of your schedule, though, you would attend all Rome events, right?
Definitely. Yeah. I missed a couple one-dayers last year, but otherwise, it's my priority is to never miss a Rome Fest.
She missed one. Oh, God. My fault. The Sturdy Dirty, the folks who organize the Sturdy Dirty, which is an all-women's enduro that takes place in Seattle, called us, said, hey, when is Rome Fest happening? We want to schedule around it. We all agreed on dates. And then I totally screwed up and I scheduled the festival for the date that I had told them we weren't going to schedule the festival for. So Andi has raced the Sturdy Dirty every year. She's like one of two or three people, two people who has never missed a Sturdy Dirty. So she came out to the festival, worked like crazy
till 2 a.m.
till 2 a.m.
the night before,
and then flew to Seattle and on like an hour of sleep raced the Sturdy Dirty and then came back in time to help us pack up. She's committed.
Well, I guess I've got to ask, how'd you do at Sturdy Dirty that year?
Not great. I don't go to win.
She goes to party.
Yeah, those ladies are doing something special up there, so I wouldn't miss that.
Hey, I want to come back to this quote that you have that's at the entrance of all the Rome Fest events, which is hugs, not handshakes, which I love. I wrote that down. And but it reminded me of our mutual friend Rebecca Rusch.
Yes.
And Rebecca Rusch, she's not known to be a hugger, but I think she is now.
Yes.
But a little birdie told me that you and Rebecca have some really interesting relationship. What's that all about?
Yeah. Well, if we were to go all the way back, I was having dinner when I was like 12 years old. And just as you do as a family, how's your school day, blah, blah, blah. It came up in conversation. Like, what do you guys want to be when you grow up? And when it came to me, I told my parents that I wanted to be Rebecca Rusch. It was like in the heyday of the Eco Challenge, adventure racing. I was obsessed. Rebecca Rusch was kicking ass. And I was like, that's what I want to be. Like, I want to be somebody that like goes out and does really hard things and looks like a total badass doing it.
The Queen of Pain.
The Queen of Pain. Yeah. So that was like the way back in the day story with Rebecca Rusch. So imagine my surprise when I'm at Sea Otter and I'm like creeping around at the Gold Rush tour, trying to get see my superhero basically. Rebecca completely fell in love with my dog, Ryder.
Brought her bacon
I don't think she remembered me, but she definitely remembered Ryder. Brought her bacon every day. And kind of long story short, we ended up getting involved with Rebecca when she was doing her training academies for cyclocross, and then Andi, gravel. So many disciplines. Gravel, and then you got to do a really special thing with Rebecca.
Oh yeah, I got to go to Laos with her for MTB Lao 2 back in 2018. And then the following 2 years, she asked me to be her mechanic.
Amazing.
And then all of that culminated with we went to go visit Rebecca on our way home from Seattle to Grand Junction. We drove, a couple hours out of the way to go. The intention was to have burritos, like KB burritos with Rebecca in Ketchum. And then we ended up getting married down by the river
by her house
with Rebecca, with Rebecca as our officiant.
Now, how does that happen? So were you driving and we're just like, hey, let's get married, and hey, let's have Rebecca officiate us? How did that happen?
Well, it was 2019.
2019, we were gonna just kind of do a courthouse marriage thing in Seattle because both of our families were gonna be there at the same time.
Like a little backyard wedding kind of deal.
And then we both probably got COVID.
We think.
So that didn't happen. And it was New Year's Eve, I think. And we were like, I wonder what Rebecca's doing. And I went on Instagram and she had posted on her story that she was working out at like 11 o'clock at night on New Year's Eve.
I think watching Grey's Anatomy, which is like this, I'm gonna put Rebecca's her dirty laundry out. She loves Grey's Anatomy. But so do I. And I think she was watching it or something. So I was like, sure we got to call her. We got to talk about Shonda Rhimes in this episode. What is going on?
So she answers. We call her super late and she answers. And we told her like, yeah, she asked us if we were going to get married.
Yeah. She's like, you bitches get married?
We're like, no, whatever. And she's like, and we were like, well, we were thinking maybe on our way to Grand Junction from Seattle, we could just swing through Ketchum and say hi. She was like, well, I'll just marry you if you come through town.
Yeah. If you guys are coming through town, I'll just marry you. Typical. Rebecca.
No way.
And we were like, okay, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
And so an hour later, she sent us a forwarded email of like her internet official ordainment.
No way.
Yeah, her husband like stomped out a path in the fresh, I think it had snowed like a foot the night before. He stomped out a little path down to the river. And yeah, we had this cool like Laotian, Jewish,
Native American,
indigenous, like all the things kind of wrapped up into this quirky little ceremony. And yeah, it was pretty special and different.
That's so
It
rad.
was really nice.
And now she's a hugger.
And now she's a
Rebecca's
hugger. I forced her to hug me until she liked it. And I don't know that she necessarily likes it now, but she is a very good hugger. I have to say her hugs have gotten to a 10 out of 10.
Oh, that's great. What a great story.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward to today. So what does 2023 look like? What does the schedule look like? Is it just 3 events?
Yeah.
Three Rome events.
Speaking of Rebecca.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got the 3 festivals, Rome Fest Knoxville happening the first weekend of May, out in Tennessee. That's a kind of e-bike beginner to advance, everybody welcome wherever you're at in your ride cycle. In the fall, September 22nd through 24th, we'll be here in Fruita, Colorado, which is just one town over out at 18 Road and the 18 Road Trails. And then we go back to Sedona the first weekend of November for our flagship festival at the Red Agave Resort. And we keep saying this every year, but I think this will be the last year that we will fit in that venue. So if people want to experience like the magic that is OG flagship Rome Fest, this might be the last chance before we move on to a venue that really is more appropriate for the size and scale of the event. And then the only other 2 things we're doing is Andi will be going to the Sturdy Dirty. I usually help out emceeing at that event.
Set up the course.
We help set up the course and then do a really fun raffle, because I refuse to be a part of raffles that aren't fun and fast. And then we head to Ketchum at the beginning of September, end of August for Labor Day weekend to help Rebecca out, putting on Rebecca's Private Idaho, which is just, if you haven't been, I don't know if you've been, it is such a fun weekend. Event. It is. I look forward to it all year long. It's like
Rebecca's been trying to get me to go for the last 10 years.
You got to come. It's such a great time. She just puts on such a killer event, and we're happy to be a part of it.
Will we see you at Sea Otter?
No.
Are you going?
No, I'll be at the Fayetteville XC race.
No Sea Otter for us this year.
Okay. How about this? I'd be curious. You've done an incredible job at establishing and supercharging this category of inclusive events, and it's amazing. And I'm just so in awe of what you guys have done. Mm-hmm. If you were to continue that movement and take a look at the bike industry as a whole, I'm looking for a little constructive criticism.
Yeah.
Like, what else can we do? What else can we do beyond inclusivity at events? Are there things that, like what's next on your list to tackle?
Yeah. I mean, I think that definitely the launching of the Rome Collective segues really nicely into that, because the point of that was to be able to take basically the building blocks of what we've done and make them available to everybody else. And I can kind of put that in a nutshell of things that we've learned, and often the hard way. And I would say the first thing for me was eating a slice of humble pie and listening. We got some event feedback from participants that, for lack of a better description, were not white. And it was really hard coming from a space, which I think the industry as a whole, I can say that we probably are all on the same page of like, we're all just trying to do the best that we can, the best that we know how. And nobody's out to offend or not make anybody feel welcome. But we often get so stuck in the way that things have always been done, or the way that we found doing things successfully, or in a lot of cases, what is financially sustainable. And for us, it was taking that financial risk of saying, we've got to change the way that we're doing things so that when we hear the feedback that these people aren't feeling welcomed or included, that we are listening to what they're asking for and being very intentional about creating those spaces. to a degree, regardless of the return on investment. And we have seen the return on investment, to talk about this in business language. We didn't know that return would necessarily be there. That was not it couldn't be our intent, because if you're just worried about the bottom line at the end of the day, it's really hard to make those changes. So we kind of went out on a limb, and our intention was to do things the right way for the right reason. And hopefully at the end of the day, there was a return on investment or something financially sustainable in that, right? Because like as a business, you can't just change and hope for the best and bury your business to make those changes. But I can say from experience of us making a lot of really hard changes sometimes, and hearing that feedback and listening and shifting and pivoting, the return has absolutely happened. And it's happened in a very authentic, genuine, trusting way. And I think that trust is probably the last piece to slide into place for us. It took a long time of continuing to hear that feedback, change because we knew it was the right thing to do. And those communities, I think at this point now, they trust that like we're going to do the right thing for the right reason, because we do want them to feel truly included and welcomed at our events. And the end result of that, again, talking business speak, is like we have a very robust demographic of folks. And our market has just exploded and expanded because we have the trust of these communities that traditionally weren't showing up at bike events. And I believe really wholeheartedly that the industry as a whole can get there as well.
Yeah. Super well said. And I think with that, I don't think we can go anywhere else. I mean, that's amazing. Ash and Andi, it was such a pleasure having you both on the show. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for doing what you do for the community, the industry, for our brands, being just great humans and great representatives and pushing the sport forward. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for getting people's voices out there.
You are more than welcome. Hopefully I will see you at Rebecca's Private Idaho or a Rome event, maybe.
Yeah, Bromefest.
Bromefest, yeah.
2024.
You need one of those.
We really do.
We're talking about
it. Believe me. We're excited.
Or can I volunteer or something? I don't have to participate.
Yeah,
can I serve beer?
Yeah, beer wenches. We could definitely use a couple of those.
All right, guys, have an awesome day. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.